Hello. Hi, welcome everyone. It looks like we have a full house tonight. This is great. There's still seats in the middle in various places. Someone can sit next to me if they want. Don't worry, everyone else in my family's sick, but I'm not, so hopefully. Anyway, so we should have a great talk tonight with Wes. A few announcements first. So one thing is next month, LinkedIn just confirmed next month will be the last month in this room, in this building probably, because LinkedIn is doing this giant land swap with Google. And so they're moving to Sunnyvale, and which is really great for me because I live in Sunnyvale. But I guess the good thing is there aren't any concert venues in Sunnyvale. So definitely, and speaking of next month, so next, yeah, another Sunnyvale resident, I bet. Anyway, but it's really great that LinkedIn's been hosting us, and they said they want to continue hosting us, so be great. But next month, so next month is Guido is talking, and I think it'll be right here, this room. And I'm sure that'll definitely be standing room only as well. So if you haven't signed up already, you might not get in, but you never know. Someone might, if you get on the waiting list, someone might drop out. So, and the month after that in October, our first month in Sunnyvale, I'm actually giving a talk on Python and IoT from chips and bits to data science. So I'm going to start at the hardware level and work up to NumPy and pandas and that kind of stuff. And then in November, we have James Bennett, who's one of the core Django developers talking. That should be another great talk. So let's see, maybe we'll do, does anyone have any announcements before we start the main talk?
Yeah, I have a short one. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan. I was here in February and I gave a talk called Use the Stock Market to Learn Python. And it was popular. So what I did is I expanded it and turned it into a class which I call Time Series Data Science. And that class is on Saturday mornings. And instead of just one meeting, there's 10 of them. So it gives us a chance to sort of really wrestle with the content. So that's on Saturday morning. And then on Wednesday nights, I also have a class called Machine Learning Applications. So the idea is application development with a machine learning backend. Both of those are taught through Santa Clara Adult Education, and there's sort of a little bit of an advertisement in the comments section of this meetup. If you have any questions, I'll be over here at the end of the meetup. Thank you, Jeff.
Great, thanks. Yes.
So I'm Vicki. I've been coming here for 10 years, and I've been talking about with people about upcoming programs. I would just like to get a show of hands of people that would be interested in beginner level talks. About anything, yeah, at the beginner level. And intermediate level? Even more, okay. So we might be doing some, every 3 or 4 months, maybe we'll concentrate on beginner level and, choose a topic before you go. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Right. No, this is for BayPiggies. Okay. Great, thank you. Any other announcements? If you, or anyone looking for a job or have jobs offered? Anyone? Okay. Anyway, well, if you have anything else that you forgot or want to save till later, you have another chance at the end. Anyway, so to introduce tonight's speaker, Wesley Chun, I've seen him around active in Python as long as I've been active. So I know he's been around much longer than I have in terms of maybe not physical years, but in terms of being active in the Python community. And I didn't realize this until reading his bio, but he wrote Python like about 20 years ago at Yahoo on the original Yahoo Mail. That was pretty cool. I didn't know that. And he's a evangelist at Google. He has his own consulting company. He has his own Python book series, not just a book, but a series. And, he talked this last weekend at BayPi. And here was, or Pi Bay, okay, Pi Bay, sorry. I'll get that. It's right in front of me on several people, and I still got it wrong. But okay, and so this was a quote someone wrote about that, his talk on Twitter. It said, "A craftsman educator with 30 plus years of experience, it shows." I thought that was really cool. So. Anyway, so he's going to talk to us tonight about the Google APIs, and thanks a lot for coming.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Jeff. It just basically means I have no life. That's all. All right, so I'm going to do the entire talk in plain text because I'm a professional presenter. Who's a coder? Don't you guys code in plain text? Okay, then. So I don't need to convince you guys that plain text is the way to go. But did anybody go to Google I/O a couple of months ago? We made a very interesting announcement. Okay, so this is Python, but it's sort of, you can pretend it's also JSON or JSON format too, right? Because it's a Python dictionary. And then I'm just going to run a little bit of code here. See what happens. Of course, it doesn't work. Oh, by the way, didn't I say that I was going to do some live demos to keep things interesting? That's really another way of saying I'm testing how good this deodorant is. Okay? Or actually the antiperspirant part of the deodorant. I'm okay with the deodorant. All right. Let me try Tech Talks. Tech Talks. Okay, and keep an eye on this over here. So this is the Google Drive. So these are documents that are shared with me. Yes. Okay, so it's done. Hopefully something shows up here. Please, 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 please show up. You guys have plenty of time, right? Oh, come on. It worked before dinner. Come on. Come on. Do I have to refresh this page? I'm going to refresh this page because I'm impatient. Crap. All right, that makes me mad. Mad. All right, I don't know what to do. Hey, that was on my personal file. Stop looking. Oh, come on. God darn it. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to have to cheat. No, don't look at that. Don't look at that. Nobody look at that. There's nothing to see here. It's not going according to plan. All I did was change 4 letters from lowercase to uppercase. What could that possibly do? No. Oh, God. I was. Look. See, Python 3. Everybody can see that. Okay. All right. I'll have to figure out why it didn't work, but I'm going to force it to work. Okay, there. Ah, that's not it either. Freak! All right. I'm going to offer a halftime where I can go clean this up and get it working again, but do I even dare to try and change the uppercase back to lowercase and hope that it works? Okay. That's really all I did, I think. It didn't say it died or anything. If it died, I should have gotten an exception out of it. All right, maybe I'm getting taught a lesson on doing live demos. That's impossible. It totally worked before dinner. Freaking freak. All right, let me do something that I have to do, which is come on, you can do it. Okay, now I don't know how to take things out of the trash. Yeah, do I? I think that's the earlier one. Yeah. Well, okay, how am I supposed to take this out of the trash? Will it tell me to? All right, thank you. All right, so this is what it's supposed to look like. All right. This is what it's supposed to look like. Ah, there.
Get a trash. There you go.
Okay, that's how you take it out. All right, so this was supposed to happen, but it didn't. Okay, so basically you saw the template. Maybe that was my way of showing you the template. Instead of a failed demo, it worked perfectly according to plan. Okay, so this is what I'm going to talk about tonight. This is the outline. That's the topic. I'm going to talk about that stuff tonight, and that's the end. Okay, that demo was actually about Google Slides. So, with a Google Slides API that we announced at Google I/O, you can actually do these things. You can actually build your own slide decks with Python code. Okay, you can either do reports, you can create custom things like a real estate deck for your clients if you're an agent. Okay, so we are looking for people who have serious use cases. And if you do, please go to the link there and sign up for early access. We're planning on launching sometime in Q4, but we're testing it out now. And if you want to review the announcement, as well as see the Google I/O talk video, caution, it's about 40 minutes long. So if you want to just go to the slides part, scroll past it. So the first announcement is Google Sheets API, the new one. And then the second announcement is Slides API. And then the third one is Classroom, Google Classroom. Okay. So anyway, so that's all I wanted to share with you guys that in this fake deck. Okay. On to the regularly scheduled program. If I can find it. It's here somewhere. Let's see. I'm going to guess it's this one. Is this it? Okay, this looks like it. All right, so if you're totally impatient and you don't want to listen to me talk, just go to pip install -U Google-API-Python client, or pip3 if you're using Python 3. So we run on 2 or 3, so you pick one. All of the code demos that I'm going to do live again. The live demos, the scripts will run on 2 or 3 unmodified, okay, without using 6 or anything else, because they're fairly basic. Also, you need to register at console. I guess I could point up here too, but I need to have 2 laser pointers. So go to console.developers.google.com to create a project, enter some information about the project, and then turn on the APIs that you want to use. All right? So also, if you need to leave and you need to have the slide deck or you won't be satisfied tonight, there's a link to the slide deck. All right? I know that part's working. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to open the water. So I gave a short version of this talk at PyCon in May. I added about 20 more slides over the last 2 days, so it's going to be a little longer than what I did at PyCon. All right? So what are we going to do tonight? Everybody got all the links down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, also, if you want to start asking questions up at the top, or queue them up, okay, and I'll blow through them at the end.
I'm not part of your organization.
All right, never mind. We'll just ask like live when it comes time. Let me shut it off. All right. Hello? Watch this, my battery died. Okay, is this a Murphy's Law presentation or what? It's actually not even moving. I am using a Mac. Okay, do I have to be up here? Okay, yeah. All right, so if you don't know about me, I'm a teacher. I teach Python. I've been teaching since 1983. How many people were born after 1983? Oh, that's depressing. Okay, just forget it. I just said anything. I teach for fun. I like to teach at schools. I like to give talks at conferences, and I like to do corporate training. So if you want my brand of live demos at your company, I'm happy to do that too. I also write. So Jeff mentioned I have some Python books. Probably the most well-known one is Core Python, which is great. And apparently they've been translated into other languages. Apparently the Chinese translation required 12 people. So I don't know why that's the case, but I guess labor is a little cheaper overseas. The most important thing about me is I'm a software engineer. I've been coding since before some of you were born. Probably the most well-known thing I've ever done was I was one of the original engineers that built Yahoo Mail. And that was about 18 or 19 years ago, using Python when no one heard of it before. And before there were anything known as web frameworks. I think Cold Fusion may have been out, 1997-ish. But that was the only thing. And so our CTO invented his own, and we ended up building Yahoo Mail with it. So it was very quick. There were only about 10 of us, and we built a system that could support hundreds of millions of users before Yahoo acquired us. We were originally Rocket Mail. I don't know if you guys remember that. It came out about half a year after Hotmail did. But Yahoo came shopping. They looked at Hotmail. They looked at us. And they decided they liked Rocket Mail better because we had foosball tables. So it was a good culture fit. But I also worked at Ironport, which is another email company, except these appliances filtered email for spam and viruses. We could process 500,000 email messages per hour. There's about 1 million lines of Python code running in each one. In January 2007, they became Cisco's third largest private company acquisition in corporate history. So that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I left before then. And then I worked at Slide. We made Facebook games. And then after I left and went to Google, Google bought Slide. So my timing is impeccable. So if you want to follow my stock tips, just come talk to me later. Okay? The most interesting thing I've ever done with Python that is totally unrelated to all of these things. And oh, by the way, Nearby Now was a shopping company. Darlene knows about that. You can talk to her about that. Okay? Is working on software to help doctors analyze patients with spinal fractures. So talk to me about osteoporosis later. And it's not just the ladies, because 20% of all people who are afflicted with it are actually male. Okay, so guys still have to, eat yogurt, drink milk, and do weights. Those are the 3 things that really help fight osteoporosis, which is basically turning your spine into Swiss cheese. It's not a good thing. Okay, so I would try to avoid that. All right. So the real outline, part 1 is the overview. Part 2 is how to get started. Part 3 is what does this have to do with Python? Part 4 is the part that really tests the deodorant or the antiperspirant, and then we'll wrap up after that. All right, so overview of Google APIs. So everybody's familiar, well, I shouldn't say everybody. Many of you are familiar with all of these things. So Android, Search, YouTube, Chrome, and Google Apps, right? Everybody, at least you know about them if you don't use them every day, right? The interesting thing is that these are things that either we built or we acquired, right? They're not you doing stuff, right? So that's what we want to do. We want to empower you guys. Because if all you think of Google is all these things, then you're missing something, right? There's a lot more to us than what you see there, okay? So we have all these things, which is basically our set of developer tools and APIs. And the goal is that we want to empower you guys to be able to add Google technologies into your apps, okay? Instead of waiting for us to write it, because we're never going to get there, and it's going to be too slow for you anyway. So if you have an itch that you need to scratch, that's what the APIs are for. And it certainly beats rewriting things from scratch, like maybe maps, Okay, some companies have tried writing maps from scratch. Didn't work out as well when they launched. Okay, but why bother when something like this is already available to you? Okay, and you can take advantage of it, right? Most of them are free. Actually, we're not really good at charging money for things. I discovered that. Okay, so that's why we still, there's a lot of money coming in from ads. So, but of course, cloud is a little different because cloud is providing that utility type service. So you're going to pay, to help us keep the thing up and running, right? But other than that, most of our APIs really don't have any kind of charge. Yes, Maps also has a premium version. Analytics has a premium version. I understand that. But for the most part, if you're writing a simple app, it's really not going to cost you very much, if at all. Okay? So you can use these things to help you write your next web or mobile app, or more than likely both, right? Because you got to have multiple form factors if you want to be successful. Okay? The problem is people have told us over the years, oh my gosh, it's so hard to use your APIs. I totally don't understand your auth. What is this registering? Sometimes there's API keys. Sometimes there's OAuth. Sometimes there's both. What the heck? Okay, it's really, really frustrating for people. So I'm going to try and reduce that barrier to entry so that you guys can start coding. That's why I gave you guys the link to pip install the client, because you can actually code along with me. You'll be able to get started as soon as you get home. Okay, if not here, but you can't stay here afterwards. All right, because they have to shut down and go home. Okay. All right, so let's talk about how to get started with the Google APIs, and hopefully I can actually, show you enough detail when you go to the developers console that you can actually do this yourselves. Okay, so the first thing is, like I said, go to the developers console, or the dev console as we like to call it, because it's fewer syllables. But I already gave you the link. So you go there, you sign in with your Google credentials. If you don't have any, you can make up one, right? You don't even have to use any of the stuff you get. You don't have to use a Gmail that you get with it. All right, don't be frustrated. I know there's people who's like, how do I use Google stuff without creating a Gmail address? You can actually do that. You can create a Google account using your own personal email and not have a Gmail. It's perfectly fine. Okay, so you go in there and you'll find something at the top which says choose a project or create a project. So you'll create a project. Okay, and then once you create a project, it'll take you to the dashboard, which I'll show you in a moment. But what you'll do is you'll click on library, and when you click on library, you'll see all the different APIs, and there's so many. There's more than 100. We can't possibly list them all. So if you want to find them really quickly, you can just go to the search bar and just type in, some keywords for the one you're looking for. Okay, and then what you'll do is you'll get when you click on one of these, it'll say, do you wish to enable this? And you click on enable. So you have to enable particular APIs for your app, and you just basically flip on all the ones that you need. So you don't, otherwise, we can't possibly have. We don't want to default you to using all of them because you're not going to use all of them, right? So just pick and choose the ones that you need. All right, everybody understand so far? That's okay. So here's the dashboard. And then what it'll do is all the ones you turned on will be listed down here. And then as as your app becomes live and you start using it, you'll actually see your traffic here. It tells you, how many errors result from people hitting your app, and things like tells you the latency, how long it takes before your users get a response. So it's a pretty useful dashboard. Also tells you when you're talking to these APIs, how many requests to those APIs did you make, how many errors, and what's your latency and all that kind of stuff. So it gives you a good overview as to how much you're using APIs. Right? So that's the main point of this dashboard, is to give you information that otherwise you'd have to put together on your own. Okay? So that's the dashboard. Now scrolling down are the credentials. I think we're going to do that next. Okay. So there's two types of credentials, API keys and OAuth 2 client IDs. What's the difference between the two, and when do you use them? Okay, so we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. All right, but I just want to show you how you create them first, and then we'll discuss when you use one over the other. Okay, everybody good so far? Okay, good. So let's start with API keys. So API key identifies your project with a simple API key to check quotas and access, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you click on that, and then it asks you, so what kind of API key do you want? So depending on your kind of app, you'll choose either a server key, a browser key, Android key, or iOS key, right? All the things I'm going to be doing tonight are just command line Python scripts, so you can consider them server keys. Okay? If you're doing like something in JavaScript, then you might use browser key, and then if you're doing mobile, Android or iOS. Okay? So that's pretty straightforward. Then you give it a name, and then you can choose to have a whitelist. Okay, so for example, if you don't want people from around the world accessing your app, okay, you can actually put IP addresses in here. Okay, otherwise it's going to be open to everybody. So it's a good way to kind of test stuff and not make it available to the world yet. All right, so that's the API key. Once you have one, then you can cut and paste it and put it somewhere secure. All right, in the code that I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you, yes, for testing you can hard code it, but in real life you're not going to do that because that's not smart, right? You're going to have to put it somewhere safe, put it in a secure database, put it in some credential or proxy server, encrypt it and hide it somewhere. Don't cut and paste it and hard code it in your source code. Okay, that's not smart, right? So anyway, so that's why it's you guys can't see my API key. All right. Next is the OAuth 2 credentials. So you click on this. It says request user consent so your app can access user data. Okay, and it says for APIs like Google Calendar. Okay, because that's a little bit more user-oriented. Okay, we'll get into that. So OAuth, you can give an entire talk on OAuth. So I'm going to try and fly through this as fast as possible. But if you get confused, that's okay, because a lot of people are confused. And you're not the only ones. I'll try to make it not confusing. Okay, so the OAuth 2 credentials that you get depends on where your apps are located. Okay, they could be web apps sitting on a server. They could be installed like on a desktop computer or on a mobile device. They could be on a cloud machine. Okay, so cloud to server or server to server, or they could be client-side Java apps. Okay, so you notice all of those are in different locations, so you're going to get to choose. We also support limited input devices. Okay, so if you have a PlayStation 4 or a printer or some kind of video camera and there's no keyboard or anything, you may need to access, or you may want to access a Google API there. For example, Samsung has a refrigerator that connects with Google Calendar, so you can actually see what you're going to do for the day as you're getting your morning juice. Okay, so that's one example. So anyway, if you want to find out more about all 5 of these scenarios, you can go to this link here. So since I already said we're going to do a command line script, that would count as an installed app. Okay, everybody still with me so far? All right, the goal is to have you guys all stay together and we can cross the finish line as one. Okay, so you click on the OAuth 2 button and it'll say, what kind of app do you have? So it's very similar to the API key one. Okay, you choose one. So we're going to choose other because that's what an installed app is. We click create and then we get this thing. Here's your client ID, here's your client secret. So don't worry about those yet. Okay, it just tells you what those things are. Let's see. The more important thing, okay, you also give it a name too. Okay, just like the API key. The reason is because you may create more than one. All right. The most important button is this download JSON button, because what you're going to do is you're going to click that and get this JSON file that has all these things in it, your client ID and your client secret, so that your app can start using this stuff to try and get the correct credentials so it can talk to Google APIs. Okay. So as you can see here in this account demo, I have 1 API key and 2 OAuth keys. Okay. You can have more than one of each. It depends on your needs and how you want to track things. Okay. Everybody's still with me so far? Okay, am I going at the right speed, or you want me to go a little faster or a little slower, or is it okay? Okay, we're good? All right, great. Okay, so once you have these credentials, your app, no matter where it is, can talk to Google APIs. Okay, so that's important. All right, so now let's talk about where does Python fit into this picture. If I can just hit this thing. All right, so Python is just one of any number of languages that you can use. Since you're all here, I assume you guys know Python. But if your company doesn't use Python and you want to show off to your boss, you can download the client library for Java, JavaScript, C#, Objective-C, PHP, Dart, Go, Node.js, and Ruby, right? All of these client libraries are all open source. They all have some kind of GitHub project where you can actually go look at the stuff. You can even reverse engineer it if you want to. Right? Because in the end, when you make a Google API call, all we need to ask from you is that you have the correct credentials, you have the correct HTTP headers, and you have the correct request body, and you can make the request. All right, the goal of the client library is to help you with that stuff so you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. Okay, and I'll kind of mention a little bit later. How many people have used the Python requests library? Okay, so you guys are familiar with how to make HTTP calls, right? So we'll talk about requests towards the end, just because I know it's a very popular library. Okay, so let's talk about simple versus authorized. And basically, this is the same as API key versus OAuth. Okay, so let's look at the API key first. So your Python source code, if it uses API keys, will look something like this. You will import discovery from API client. You will have your API key somewhere safe, like I mentioned these examples already, but this is a demo, so you can hard code it to begin with to get it working, and then you can move it out later. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to call discovery.build, and what you're going to do here is you're going to build a service endpoint so that your app can talk to the API. Okay, so you have to mention what API you're using, for example, YouTube. You have to mention what version you're trying to hit. So in this case, they're on v3 for the data API. And then you give it a variable named developer key in Java camel case, and then you assign whatever your API key is and you pass that in. That's all you need to do for API key access. Okay? For OAuth, it's a little bit more complicated, as you can see from this little diagram here, which I completely stole from our docs. Okay, so that OAuth page that I linked you to a couple of slides ago, that has this little diagram on it. Okay, so the goal is if you have a valid access token, you can access third-party data. Okay, and I'll explain what that means. Okay, so here's how OAuth 2 works in general. You have to create the credentials in the dev console and click the download JSON button. Okay. Then once you have that, you can actually send those credentials to get these things called the access and the refresh tokens, because you need those things. Okay. Once you have an access token, you can actually make an authorized API call. So that's the end goal. The end goal is for your app to eventually get an access token so it actually talk to an authorized API. If you're getting your credentials, you may have to, do you guys ever get that window that says, please allow this app to do this, and you click allow, okay? Or sometimes they'll say, please cut and paste this magic code inside this browser window or something, right? So that's you giving permission or actually sending stuff over to actually get access or refresh tokens, okay? The access tokens with Google's authorized APIs, they do expire. Generally, they expire in about an hour. And so that's what the refresh token is for. The refresh token is if those access tokens are out of date or expired, I can use a refresh token to ask for a new access token. Okay, that's what that is. Okay? Oh, that's step 4. I knew that. I knew that was on the slide. Okay? Again, here's the same page where you can learn all about the OAuth 2 process. If you're having a hard time sleeping, this will help. Okay? It really helps. Just trust me. All right. Others, okay, if you're going to do OAuth for the other systems like the server-to-server, the video game console, or the mobile version or the JavaScript version, it's going to be similar to this. It's not going to be exact, but it's very close. In the end, you have to have an access token or you can't make a call, authorized API call. All right, so because of all that, the code is going to be a little longer because anytime you've got security, it makes your code longer. All right, so instead of just discovery, we now need to import the HTTP client to have OAuth 2 client, okay? Then you have this thing called scopes. Scope is what is it that this app is asking for permission to access, okay? Maybe I want to access somebody's Gmail folder. Maybe I want to access somebody's Drive folder. Maybe I want to access someone's Google Calendar so I can add an event for them. Right? Because if I am like a restaurant reservation service like OpenTable, instead of just sending an email, it'd be cool if I actually plug that event into their calendar so they don't have to manually do it, right? You're actually making things convenient for your user. Don't think I'm going to violate their privacy. I'm helping them, okay? But of course, they have to give permission. If they choose to not give permission, then you're not going to be able to get access to right to their calendar API. I mean, to their calendar, which is very fair, right? So anyway, so what do we have? So we have when you click the download JSON button on your OAuth 2 credentials in the dev console, you're going to download this thing called client secret. Actually, when you click on the button, it'll say client secret, and it'll have a whole bunch of obfuscated junk, okay? Because it wants to differentiate this client secret from another project you may have. So if you only have one project, then you can just shorten it to client secret.json. Storage.json is what this code is going to write your access and your refresh tokens to, so that if when your access tokens expire, that's where it gets the refresh token. So to go ask for another access token. Everybody get that? Okay, you don't have to do anything with these files. It's just that's what the client library is going to do for you. Okay, so line 9 says, I'm going to store my refresh and access tokens in this file. You can change the name. You don't have to call it storage.json. Call it whatever you want. Okay, but in all of my demos, I call it that. Line 10 will attempt to get a valid access token. If that access token doesn't exist or it's expired, then I'm going to run through the whole OAuth flow. So you get that little window that says, please grant me permission, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so what this does is it takes whatever you have in the client secret file, as well as the scopes of permission that you are asking for, and it builds this flow. So it builds this flow from your client secret file. That's why the function is called flow from client secrets, duh. Okay, but it's a flow, it's a thing. It doesn't do anything yet, so you actually have to call this tools function called runFlow to actually run it so that your users get that little screen. Otherwise, if you just have the flow by itself, it doesn't do anything, right? So ignore this flags thing. In fact, remove this flags altogether. I forgot to take this variable out. It used to be required, but as you can see, there's no flags variable anywhere. So just ignore flags. So just flow, comma, whatever your store is, so that when the flow is complete and you have a new access token and a refresh token, then they get put into the store. But this just mostly is for running the actual flow. So the window pops up. Okay? Everybody still with me so far? Good. Now, I have valid credentials, assuming. If I didn't, if for some reason maybe the user hit abort instead of allow, then you would get an exception thrown and then everything would stop right there. Okay, so you might have to catch that. Otherwise, guess what? Almost the same routine down here where you need to build a service endpoint. This time it's going to be an authorized one, so instead of passing an API key, right, we still have to pass in the API and the version number, but instead of developer key equals API key, I'm doing HTTP equals credentials.authorize HTTP. So I'm going to create an HTTP client. Authorizing it means I'm going to sign all your requests with the access token. Okay? Alex, you had a question? Oh, yes. Discovery.build. Okay, so that's what I'm missing here. Good eyes. Discovery.build. Sorry. I originally had from API client.discovery import build, but a good practice is to not import all the way down to the actual level. You can stop the imports at the class level. But yeah, so service equals discovery.build. Hopefully I have that correct on the API key one. I forgot about that. Okay, yeah, so it should look like this, discovery.build. Okay? All right, so let's scroll through this really fast, okay. Oh, I just walked through this whole thing. Never mind. Okay, we skipped 3 slides, yay. All right, now which do you choose? Okay, remember how I said let's talk about when you would use an API key versus when you would use authorized in OAuth, right? The main idea behind API keys is that this is called simple or public API access. Okay, simple or public API access, meaning I'm doing very generic things. I'm not looking at private user data. For example, I'm searching for YouTube videos, or I'm searching public Google Plus posts. Those things are not private user data, therefore I can use an API key. Okay, do not need authorization. Everybody get that? However, if I want to do something like read my users' Google Drive files, that's their own personal information. So they need to give your code, your script, permission to read their Google Drive. That's why they get that OAuth pop-up. Okay? Or if I want to add a video to their YouTube playlists, well, now that's a personal thing. That's not searching for generic videos anymore, right? You're asking for specific permissions to a user's piece of data, which is their playlist. Okay, everybody get that? So that's the difference between the two. Simple is for public API access. Authorized is for user data. Third-party access. Your code is the third party that is trying to access their data. And they have to give you permission or else it's not going to happen. Okay, everybody get that? All right, hopefully most of the code still makes sense. I still have to fix a few things like flags and discovery dot, but so the slides that are online are a little bit out of date. So if you guys wait a day, I'll have them fixed up by tonight. Okay. All right, so now is when I do demos. Not sure I want to, but I guess I committed. I tried to do one demo. That one didn't work out, but hopefully the other ones work out better. So I have a script somewhere that tells me what order I should do them in. So I did that one, authorized. Oh, by the way, most of the demo code is online already. So let's see what we're supposed to be doing. In fact, I'm going to use the slides to help me because the slides guide me. All right, so I will do a G+. I know somebody said, ooh, wouldn't something else be more useful than Google+? Okay, snide people, very snide, okay? Maybe I can just walk through the code first and then I'll run them all, okay? So at least you can see the code. So because I'm searching Google+ for social posts, very generic, okay, I'm going to search for Python. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before, but it's a language, okay, or a snake. I have a template which is print the user who posted it, the timestamp they posted it, and what the contents of their post are. So here is my, this is the old way of doing it still, all right. Build, that's fine, build. Okay, here's my one line that makes it Python 2 and 3 compatible using the print function. All right, so here's searching for all the posts and then what my query is, it's Python. Then I'm going to build discovery.build service endpoint to Google+ version 1, passing the API key, which comes from this settings file, which I'm not going to show you. I know you want to see it, okay? But you guys will have one too. Stick it in some settings.py file so that you don't show off what your API key is. I'm going to do, so I get this G+, which is my service endpoint. So this service endpoint has a .activities, .search, pass my query, tell them what I want back, which is I only want the items because otherwise you can get back more things that you want. I only care about the actual posts themselves. So I ask for the fields item and I get it back, hopefully. If it doesn't work, then I get a key error and this whole thing craps out. Probably better to do .get so that I can, just in case it doesn't come back with anything. Otherwise, if I do get something, then for every post, then I'm going to basically remove all the white space, turn them into spaces, and then I'm going to use this template and put the username, the timestamp, and then the contents of the post if there is something. If it's blank, then I don't show that. I skip it and move on. Okay, everybody can understand how this works? So when I run it, you'll know exactly what this does. Let's see. I'm checking my time here. So I have about another half hour or 45 minutes, I think. Okay. All right. Here's something that's more useful than searching for Google+ posts. That's also public. So this is searching for YouTube videos. Okay. Again, I do the same 3 imports at the top. I'm also searching for Python. I have this thing that trims things. So I'm going to get the YouTube video link and the title of it. And if it's too long, basically this just trims it to whatever, how long I want it so that it's formatted nicely. All right, so basically 24 characters for the video ID and then 48 characters for the title of the video. That's all. So it's just a quick lambda that trims things and then makes them line up because it uses left justify. Then it says searching for the videos, build a service endpoint to YouTube, the data API version 3, passing the API key. So I have my service endpoint called .search, .list q equals query type. I'm only searching for videos, not playlists, not channels. But you can search for those too, or you can search for anything at YouTube. I only care about getting ID and snippets, so this is similar to fields. It's just YouTube uses a different nomenclature for fields. They call it part. And if things go successfully, it returns an items object that has ID and snippet in it. And otherwise, it defaults to empty list. So this is a better example of using get than using square brackets on the Google+ version. Okay, I'm already refactoring. See that? Okay, so for every video that I find, print the YouTube short link to it. So give me the video ID. So that's the YouTube short link, video ID tab, space over, okay, and then the title of the video. That's it. Okay? Everybody understand this one? Okay? Anybody have any questions so far? Okay? I'm going to move on now. It's going to get trickier because now we're going to go to the OAuth stuff. Okay? Now, listing your files in Google Drive. So I got the extra imports, HTTP and OAuth 2 client. The scopes is what I'm asking the user for permission for. So the general rule of thumb that we always tell people is, you know how when you see those permission windows pop up and it makes you cringe, like why is this app asking for access to my contacts or my phone numbers or whatever, right? Don't you guys feel it's invading my privacy? Okay, so the rule of thumb is use the minimal amount, the most restrictive scope that you possibly can that still allows your app to work. Since I'm just listing out Google Drive files, I don't need to have write access to their drive. I don't need to look at their photos metadata. I don't need to access their Google Drive apps. I just want to read, I don't even want to read their files. I just want to read their file metadata. Okay, so I'm going to ask for the metadata, but read only. So this is a very, very restrictive scope. You can't even get access to the file content. Okay, so when this permissions window pops up, your user is not as intimidated by what you're asking for, right? So that's the best practice. Okay, so then the same boilerplate code that you've already seen, so I'm not going to go over it again. So I'm going to call discovery.build Google Drive API version 3, which is the newest one. Okay, some of you might have used V2. Version 2 is still fairly new as well. In fact, 2 is still so new that we're not even deprecating that yet, at least at the time of this talk. But you can use either 2 or 3, but 3 performs a little bit better. Okay, so you can look for our blog post that announces the differences, the performance improvements that we made in version 3. All the commands are mostly the same. We basically cut out a lot of duplication and functionality that you could, you know, why have more than one way of doing things, right? And we also return less stuff in the payload to make it faster. Okay. So anyway, so now we have a drive endpoint. I can do drive.files.list.execute, get me the files for every file in my list file. So it returns by default like the first 25 or 50 files that are in your drive folder. You can also ask for files in a specific folder if you want. There's lots of different ways to do this. All right, but this is just all the top level files that you have in your Google Drive. And then print the file name and its MIME type. Okay, pretty basic, right? Okay, good. All right, now this is an interesting example because I was trying to come up with something with Gmail that was intriguing, not stupid. All right, something kind of useful like, why don't I look for all of the Gmail threads that have at least 2 messages in it so I know it's kind of chatty, right? Not a one-off or a piece of spam or whatever. Now, you guys probably know that there's existing internet protocols that allow you to read email messages like POP, IMAP, and then sending email SMTP. The problem is that those internet protocols haven't kept up to date with modern usage of email, like folders, labels, threads, you know, vacation responders, right? And instead of waiting for internet protocols to catch up with modern day usage, email usage, the Gmail team created an API. And so this API came out, you know, I think within 2 years ago, so it's fairly new. That's why it's on version 1. Okay, this time I'm also asking for a read-only scope because I don't need to send emails or anything like that. I just want to look through this messages, looking for threads that have at least 2 messages in them. So once I have an endpoint to the Gmail API, I will call users.threads.list. The default user ID, like if you want to search your inbox, is user ID equals me. That's the default. Okay, execute that, and then get the threads. Then for every thread, I'm going to get that thread and get a little bit more information about that thread. So I need to grab the ID from the thread that I got from the first call, which lists all the threads. Now I want to go dig into each thread and get more information about each thread. Okay, so I find out, so how many messages are in this thread? Well, if I don't have, you know, at least 3, then I'm going to dump that message because I only care about chatty messages. All right, I'm going to grab the first email body. I'm going to check for a subject line because I only care if this thread or the first message in this thread has a subject line. If it's empty, then I'm going to dump that too because it doesn't tell me anything, right? I want to find out something about this thread, right? If there's no subject line, forget about it. And then print how many messages are in that thread. Okay, everybody understand this code? Fortunately, it's Python, so you can pretend it's pseudocode. We all know Python is executable pseudocode, right? Okay, yeah, it's pretty well known. Okay. All right, so the next demo I'm going to do is reading cells from a Google Sheet. All right, so if you guys click on this link, I know it's really hard to with your fingers. Okay, and it might be hard even if you download. Oh, no, if you get the PDF, I think PDF readers can now let you click on links, right? So you can click on that, and that's a very generic Google spreadsheet that we have. It's a public spreadsheet of like university students, what kind of extracurricular activities they're participating in, gender, what year they are. It's just a very generic spreadsheet, okay? And it's public because it's in our docs. So what I want to do is I want to just display what's shown there, what's in the spreadsheet. I want to read this out, okay? So I'm going to do the spreadsheet's read-only scope because that's the most restrictive that I could use. I'm going to connect with the Sheets API, version 4, and then I'm going to pass the sheet ID, okay, and then talk to the endpoint and do .spreadsheets.values.get, pass in the spreadsheet ID, and I want the first tab, which is called class data, because it's university students. I only want to get the values. I execute it, and then I pull that out, and then if there's nothing, it's empty, and that's fine. This time, instead of using regular print, I'm going to use pprint because it's going to be an array of arrays of strings. So it's going to be, I could do for row in rows and then print row one at a time. But if you just use the pretty printer, it looks it looks almost identical, right? So why make all those extra calls? Okay, everybody understand this example? Okay, I'm going to run all of these, and hopefully they all work. Is there a question?
Yeah. Do you have a call to get a list of sheet IDs?
Do I have a call to get all the sheet IDs? I do not, but that brings up a very interesting point, which I will come to when you see a question mark on the slides. Okay, so save that. Another question? Oh, just because spreadsheets are typically owned by a particular user. It's not, even though this person has shared it with the world, that may not be the case.
Right, but you're doing your OAuth, not the person who shared it?
It's whoever is, well, yeah. That's a good question. Let me consider that and I'll get back to you. Okay. Maybe I don't have to, actually. I don't know if I've ever done this. Okay, I'm not going to try and run it without it, but talk to me later. All right?
Run it first with it and then try commenting it out.
Yeah, I could try that. We'll see. But I have a strange feeling that the Spreadsheets API doesn't even allow API key access. It has to have OAuth. I think it is an API that only does authorized calls no matter what, even if the document itself is shared. So the question is, whenever you run this script, do you have to keep on does the user have to keep on opting in for this script to have permission to write it? And the answer is no, and that's why there's storage.json, because it caches that access token, and it keeps on using unless you delete storage.json, in which case it has to run the flow again, but otherwise it doesn't have to do the flow. Even after it expires, it uses a refresh token. Okay, so it doesn't inconvenience the user. Okay, good question. All right, now let's talk about, I already mentioned this as an example. What if you were doing a restaurant reservation service and you wanted to pop an event into their calendar so they don't have to manually go and do it later because they may forget, right? Especially restaurant reservations. You want to plug in the address so that in their Google Calendar they can just click on the link and it'll actually bring up Google Maps so you can, get that, right? So I need write access. So this is the full scopes for calendar. That's like every permission, read and write. Okay, time zone, West Coast. And I'm going to start dinner with friends on January 15, 2017. And then I'm going to invite these people. Okay, I'm going to create an endpoint to Google Calendar, build calendar, endpoint, service endpoint, version 3. So I'm going to use the endpoint, .events, .insert, calendar ID, primary for which user this is, but you can actually give a calendar ID for like a group calendar, like you want to insert into the club calendar, or the BayPiggies calendar as to when the next meeting is and where, okay, things like that, Okay. Send notifications is, do I email these people? Actually, I think email gets sent no matter what, but there may be some situations where if you don't have this, it won't send email. Maybe for non-Google users or something like that. I think if you plug something into, if they're a Google user, I think they automatically get email, but we'll have to double check. And then the event body, which is this, dictionary, which gets turned into JSON or JSON, and then execute that. And then if you get something back positive, then you just print out what it is that you just inserted. All right, everybody understand this example? Okay, I think we're running low on examples. Okay, some other ones, if we have time to do, I will try and do it. Google Drive, uploading and downloading. Actually, that's a lie. It's actually importing and exporting. I'm going to import a plain text file, convert it into Google Docs format, and then I'm going to export that as PDF. So this is what I call the poor man's text to PDF converter. Okay? It's there. We're not charging money. Okay? Google Sheets, create and read. So this is a more advanced example. So we saw the one where we're reading university student roster. This one will take something in SQLite and move that over to Google Sheets. It'll just copy the rows into a spreadsheet. It's pretty cool. Here's the question mark for this gentleman. This is a popular Stack Overflow question, apparently. How do I export a Google Sheet as CSV? Okay, that seems to be a common question, right? Doesn't that make sense? Because sometimes you upload a CSV to get a spreadsheet out of it, right? So my question to you, and why there's a question mark, is which API do I use? Is it the Google? It's one of the two above it. How many people think it's a Google Sheets problem? How many people think it's a Google Drive problem? So for those of you who said Google Drive, why do you think this is a Drive problem? Okay, all right. Okay, maybe Google Sheets doesn't offer export as a service. Okay, maybe that's true. But think about it this way. The Google Sheets API is to do spreadsheet operations. The kind of operations you would do if you were sitting in front of the user interface, like italicize text, create a pivot table, bring up a chart, resize columns, merge cells, make the top header row frozen, do cell validation, things like that. It doesn't do file-oriented operations. That's what Google Drive is for. Copying files, importing files, exporting files. In fact, you should have gotten the hint up here, import and export. Right? So this is a Google Drive API thing. Okay, not a spreadsheets thing. Spreadsheets only know how to operate on a spreadsheet itself. It doesn't know how to do file-based things. Everybody understand that? Now, who knows? Maybe sometime in the future, the Sheets API team will want to add it, but then why are you duplicating what Drive already has? Now, there are some things that you can do with both, like creating a spreadsheet. That's both a file-oriented thing, which you can do from Drive, or it's a spreadsheet thing because you're creating a spreadsheet, right? So that's one operation you can do with both. And like I said, all of these examples I already have on my blog, every single one of these. So in the blog post for this particular one, which is probably my newest blog post, I actually show you how to do it in Drive as well as in how to do it with the Drive API as well as how to do it with the Sheets API. And you can see they're very similar. The biggest difference I would say is with the Drive API, you have to give it the MIME type because it has to know what kind of file it needs to create. Sheets already knows what kind of file it is, right? Okay. This is coming soon. How to programmatically change an email signature. Okay, so the Gmail API got a revision, I think a month or a month and a half ago, where now you can actually use the API to update these settings, user settings, like aliases, forwarding, vacation responder, filters, including your email signature. So the main use case for this one, which is the email signature, is what if you have an email address that's specifically meant to send customer newsletters or whatever, right? You send out the newsletter, but maybe you want to give them an update on like the latest product. So down in your signature at the bottom of the email, you can constantly update that so it's not always hard-coded. you update it to like the latest press release, latest feature launch, latest customer newsletter, or whatever that you send to your customers, right? So sometimes that could be useful, right? So that's coming soon. I'm still working on the code snippet for that. Calendar API. So creating events is great, but what if they changed our restaurant reservation? Okay, some people have said, oh, well, doesn't Gmail like take plain reservations and automatically add it to Google Calendar? I go, yes, but that's because it scraped the email and did it. It's not smart like the API, because if your plane ticket reservation changes and you update it and they send you another email, guess what? Now you got 2 Google Calendar events from Gmail, right? But if you're writing an app, you want to give your users a better experience. So you create it with the API, and then you can modify it with the API. Okay, you can also do searches and look for things too, right? But the API gives you much more control. It's not a one-way street like the way the Gmail works, right? And everybody had seen that if you get stuff sent to your Gmail, it goes into your calendar automatically. Okay, not enough control in my opinion. All right, modifying is important, so that's why I'm creating that as another example. Okay, so these 2 are coming soon, hopefully within a month or 2. And then, so like I said, almost all of these examples are on my blog already that I'm going to run through, so you'll already have the code. So I don't need to give you a PDF with the source code because you already have it. Otherwise, I think there's only one that I don't have in my blog, which is the reading of the university student roster, because this is a more compelling example of moving a sequence. I mean, I'm creating a Google Sheet, and I'm sticking data into it, and I'm reading from it. So it's not just a read-only thing. The Google Sheets example that I'm running it's on our developer site. So developers.google.com/sheets. Okay. So I think I can run through them. So, okay, why did I show you all that stuff? Well, I want you guys to start, those examples, which I will run to prove to you that they work. Okay. The code is on my blog, so they better work. All right. The main idea is to try and start making your gears spinning around. What can you do, right? Maybe you have a whole bunch of zip files that you want to back up onto Google Drive, but you don't want to upload a zip file because then you have to download a zip file and then uncompress it. Wouldn't it be awesome if you could just take your zip files and auto uncompress and copy over to Drive at the same time? Okay, that would be really cool. And so that's why the Google Drive team built this example. It's in JavaScript, but I'm sure you guys could create a Python one pretty easily. I think the hardest thing about it, because I also tried building this in Python, and where I got caught was it got a little complicated when you have a zip file that recurses to multiple levels. So I have one that works for like 2 levels, but I haven't built it so that it recurses down. But I'm sure you guys could do that, right? I just want to start the gears turning. A more advanced example, which I'd like to see, is let's say you had a folder of like 1,000 photos. How many people have a big giant drive at home that has a whole bunch of photos and they're not organized in any particular way? Okay, right? So wouldn't it be cool? Okay, one of the scopes in Google Drive is looking at photo metadata. Wouldn't it be cool if you could look and kind of identify the ones that are happening around the same timestamps in the same geolocation and automatically create photo albums out of all of those and make individual folders for those albums? Right? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Right? Because then you can actually have Python organize things for you so you don't have to manually do it, because it ain't going to be fun. Right? You can just imagine doing it yourself, right? Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about it. Okay? And maybe you have something that's a little bit more complicated that maybe you can generate a YouTube video out of it so you can send it to grandma, or upload it to YouTube using the YouTube API and then just give the YouTube link to grandma. So all she has to do is click, right? And all of a sudden, the grandkids' photos from Hawaii are already there. You don't have to do anything, right? So I want you guys to like start your gears spinning. Think about all these different APIs that I've told you guys about tonight, and start thinking about what you can do with it, okay? Because, the world is your oyster, right? So I have some things here. Like I was thinking of another crazy example where you're writing an app to help users find places to go, things to eat, things to do, food to eat, things to do, right? And maybe identify using the Maps API where those things are, emails you, sticks those invitations into a Google Calendar and emails you as, you're 2 days away from that event. And maybe allows you, you can use the YouTube API to, if you took a video or some pictures of the food that you ate at the fantastic dinner that you had, maybe you can use the YouTube Data API to upload those photos and make a collage, and then share your dinner experience with your friends on Google Plus or whatever social network you use. And maybe later on, after 10 years of all this, use machine learning tools in the Google Cloud Platform to kind of like, where did you go the most out of these 10 years? Did you tend to stay on the peninsula? Did you go to the city more? Maybe the East Bay? Or maybe you fly to eat at exotic destinations? I had a friend that flew to Denmark just to go to a specific restaurant. I was like, okay, I don't have that kind of budget, but some people do, okay? So just let your imaginations run wild, okay? And that's the main idea, all right? So I'll do the demos a little later, but to wrap up the talk, let me tell you where to go. So console, I'm trying to push off the demos, can you tell? Until it's way too late to do demos. I only have 8 more minutes. So go to the console, register a project, turn on the APIs that you want to use, download the Google APIs client library, because it's cool. And if you want to go to the web page for that, it's there. There's special code just for people who run Django or Google App Engine. Okay, so you will use part of different parts of the Google API client library if you have a Django app or an App Engine app. Okay, I have a blog, so like I said, all of these samples are already available as blog posts. These are just short links, but if you just go to the main blog, you don't have to like copy all these down. But the only things I blog about is work, so it's kind of boring. And then, oh wait, sorry. Some of you guys didn't finish taking. I saw like 50 cameras up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're gonna get that slide deck. What's wrong with you people? Okay, question?
Console, it says start your free trial, and it asks for a credit card, but it promises not to charge until the free trial is over.
Okay, so that is only for cloud products. So regular API stuff, you won't have that. Okay.
I think we have the wrong docs. I apologize.
Yeah. So the cloud products, because they charge, you do get a free trial. I forgot. I think it was like $600 for 2 months or something like that. So there is actually a free trial for the cloud stuff. Okay. By the way, Alex Marcelli's up here in the front. He works on the cloud team. So if you have any questions, he'll be happy to answer them later. Okay. I used to be on the cloud team, but since I left the cloud team, I've completely forgotten everything. Okay, except the word cloud. Okay. All right. What else? Video resources. Oh, by the way, most of these things I've created videos for too. So there's all the setting up the project, doing the boilerplate code review that we did earlier with all the OAuth and the API key. That's available in a video. The Drive API, I have 2 videos for. Gmail, I have a video for. Calendar, I have a video for. Sheets, I have a video for. Oops. Okay, so I have videos for these, and I'm continually adding more. It takes a lot of effort to do videos. I watched like 3 minutes of video, and it took like several days to put together. So I can't produce them as fast as I want them to, or as fast as I want to. But anyway, so they're all available for you guys. Glenn, you had a question?
Is there a Hangout API?
Hangouts API. There is only a Hangouts apps API. I don't know whether or not the Hangouts team is working on a new one, but that's kind of like an older one. So, question back there? Do we have plans for a finance API? I think Google Finance has shut down, hasn't it? I wouldn't trust it. I would trust. What? Oh, it works fine. I don't think there's what?
Leave it alone.
Okay. Oh. I have nothing to do with it. I don't believe there's an API for it. I don't believe that they're planning on an API for that. I just don't know too many people who are using it. So. Any other question? Yeah, another question.
Could you manage a marketing campaign with a mail API from a personal account, or would you probably need a special account?
Okay, so the question is, can you manage the marketing campaign with the Gmail API? So. Well, we have to get into the spam question. And so the anti-spam measures we have is you can only send 100 emails per day. Okay, so you can if you have a small marketing campaign. If you have a larger marketing campaign, I think you have to make some arrangement with the Google Apps team. You probably have to have a paid-for version or something. But I don't know too much about the enterprise world, so.
There's a microphone we can use as well, so it helps with the camera and video. And
Okay.
I have two questions for you, Wes.
Sure.
I think the first one is just, this is really cool. I learned a lot, but is there happen to be a place where I can go and maybe take a full class of yours if you're going to sit down and help me with going through any kind of tutorial? No?
You know, that's a funny story, is that I don't know of instructors that teach people how to use Google APIs.
You're no longer teaching it?
I could, but
all right,
let's talk about this offline.
Sorry. I thought you were. I was helping you to promote.
We can talk about this offline. I basically can't I can't do it. But other people can. Other people can offer it. You could actually offer it. With the content in the slide deck here, you could probably offer it. And then I can help you with it. Basically, the main idea as employees, we can't be remunerated for teaching Google stuff. So I would have to offer it for free. Okay. What was the second question?
That was it. Yeah, sorry.
I thought that was only one question. Okay. Anna has a question.
Can you run the demos now?
No. Next question. Is there going to be a Photos API? Ooh, that's a good one. I do not know, actually. That would be compelling. I think Flickr has one, right? I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. And actually, if I did, I probably could say. But I don't know. I forgot to mention that I'm on the Google Apps team. Did I say that? I'm not on the cloud team anymore. I'm on the apps team. So that's why most of this was on apps-related APIs. So Photos, I think, is in the social group. So I don't know too much about what's going on in the social land. Question in the back there?
So comments and questions. I went and looked it up, and the Google Finance API was sunsetted in June of 2011.
Okay. I kind of remembered that, taking that down, but that was a while back. So,
And then
yeah.
the question is, when you're doing operations that require the OAuth side of things as opposed to the API key, and you're running it inside of a script, how do you handle the user giving permission if it's outside of a browser?
Okay, so the question is, how do we handle user auth if it's outside of a browser? That just means you need to choose a different flow. So remember how I said that the client library has at least 5 different flows in it that you can choose from. So yeah, one of them is that. You may have, some of them will let you do like a command line only one or something like that versus in a browser. Okay, and question in the front?
Yeah, Matt specifically pointed to a ton of sort of ancillary data, like that kind of stuff. Is any of that accessible through these APIs, or?
That's coming up soon. Okay. Anyways, I'm not done. We're just going to keep going until we run out of time for demos. Okay, I have more, lots of things to talk about. Okay. An alternative to using Google APIs is this thing called Google Apps Script. I gave a talk on this last September or October at the Silicon Valley Google Developer Group meeting. Okay. If you've never heard of it before, Google Apps Script is basically JavaScript. Okay, so everybody knows about JavaScript in the browser. Everybody knows JavaScript outside of the browser is probably going to be like a Node.js app. This is a third place you can run JavaScript, which is JavaScript in Google's cloud. And what you get is, instead of thinking of like a REST API where you have to have OAuth and you have to pass in HTTP, JSON library, data, a payload, it's more of built-in services. Think of it more like a built-in service than using a traditional API. So instead of calling the Sheets API and passing in some payload and then getting some response, you would be doing something like spreadsheet app dot, insert row dot something, something, something. And it's not an API call. It's like a function call or a method call, a JavaScript method call. So that's how you should think of Google Apps Script. Okay. The cool thing about it is that it gives you really convenient access to Google Apps data. They also have to, there is a little bit of OAuth because the person who you're asking for permission to access to their spreadsheet or whatever still has to opt you in, but it's a much smaller window. It's not an OAuth window. It's like the built-in Apps Script authorization. okay, which does use OAuth under the covers anyway, okay. So it has convenient access to Google Apps data, like access to somebody's Google Calendar, to their Google spreadsheets. You can, in fact, if you wanted to code against Google Docs or Google Forms, okay, this is the only way you can access those APIs because they don't have REST APIs. Why you would programmatically access a Google Doc is beyond me, but you can do it, right? You can do it. I have an interesting example where that uses both docs and forms, actually. So has everybody created a Google form before? Yeah, how many people have created a Google form before? It's basically like creating a survey, and you have this UI where you can drag, like what kind of question do you want? Is it a question answer? Is it yes, no? Is it true, false? Is it a text field? Is it a text area kind of a thing, right? So I basically have it where, let's say you're a teacher, because that's what I do outside of work, I teach, and you want to give a quiz to your students. Well, I'm too lazy to go and build this using the Forms UI. So I have this little thing where if you write up your entire quiz with answers in a Google Doc, it'll actually extract the questions out, generate a Google form, and then it would take your answers and auto-submit that as the first answer to the quiz so that you have one line in your Google Sheet. And then when all of your students have completed the test, you have all these rows in your spreadsheet, right? Then you can pass it to another app script tool called Flubaroo, okay, which actually grades all the students' submissions. And it'll send you it'll send the teacher an email report. It'll send the students and maybe their parents an email report. It'll tell you like which questions more than 60% of your students got wrong. It gives you all kinds of crazy stats. So it's pretty awesome, right? So I wrote this tool that's the prequel to Flubaroo. So it's called Gformit. And basically you write your entire quiz in a Google Doc. It sucks all this stuff out of a doc and builds a form out of it, and all using AppScript. So one day I'll probably do a video on that, but that you can find it in the Chrome Web Store if you're curious about it, or talk to me later, or drop me a note. All right. The other thing is, besides Google Apps data, you can talk to other Google services like Google Maps. You can talk to maps for not only maps and physical maps like static maps. You can also ask for driving directions in maps. You can talk to Google Translate. You can talk to some cloud services. Right? It's actually pretty cool. Or if you really need to reach something external, there's a JDBC endpoint, so you can talk to a relational database that's outside of Google. So it's a pretty useful tool. Okay. So I've made some video resources there introducing you to AppScript. How do you use AppScript with Maps in Gmail? Another video. Another video is how to talk to YouTube. And then I do have an elementary one on how to auto-generate a Google form using AppScript, so that's another video, so 4 more videos for you. When I'm not coding, I'm doing videos. When I'm not doing videos, I code. That's all I do, okay? Somehow, company still wants to employ me, so I'm happy. What else is there? Alternative number 2, so this is requests. I asked you guys earlier. What about my favorite HTTP request library? Can I use it to talk to Google APIs? It's a fair question, right? Yes, you can. But there's not that many examples out there how to do it because most people just use the client library. And there's one I did find, which I'm going to show you right now. But if you look at the code, what do you think you're going to see? No, it kind of works. It kind of works. Well, at least I got it working. I made some changes to modernize it a little bit, but I got it working. The real problem is about 80% of it is authentication or authorization. By the way, they're different, right? Did I tell you guys the difference between authentication and authorization? Authentication is where you are who you say you are, so password, fingerprint, retina scan. Okay. Authorization is where you have access to third-party data. That's the difference between the two. Okay, so let's look at it. So if you guys don't believe me, it's right here. I'm going to make it bigger. And you just tell me, let's see, we'll scroll down here. Oh, auth. 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 Oh, post. Yay. And then more auth. And then, ooh, calendar, yay. Auth. Oh, more calendar timestamp stuff. Yay. Yay. Auth. Oh, wait, more calendar stuff. Auth. Oh, stuff. Okay? And that's it. Right? So if you want to write 80% off, you can use requests. It's up to you. I'm lazy. I'll use the client library. Okay? But you can do it. All right? It's not impossible, as this person has indicated. This is, by the way, the only example I found online. I wasn't able to find another one. All right, so back to the presentation. Are we running out of time yet? Please say yes. Please say yes. Running out of time. Oh.
Help you run out of time.
Yes.
It's like the guys who just built a 6502 microprocessor out of individual transistors. Why you would want to do it is a different issue. But
right.
It's a really cool hack.
Yeah. So like Alex said, you could build a 6502 CPU using resistors. But why? Do you not value time? Oh, transistors. Do you not value time? Do you not value your family? What are you doing here? Your spouse and your kids are at home waiting for you. Oops. I'm in trouble. Oh, okay. All right, so the client library hides most of this from you so that you can concentrate on your app and not auth. Okay? Summary is, yes, you can, but it'll be a do-it-yourself effort. Okay? Alternatives for other Google APIs. So most, not all, Google APIs do work with a standard client library that I just discussed with you. But there are some that have their own. One of them is Google AdWords. Somebody asked about that on Meetup, I think. So they have their own client library, and you can go there to download that if you're doing a lot of advertising-related things. Google Maps. Somebody pointed out Maps, right? They have their own client library as well too. For web services, all the other stuff, I don't think you need their client library for things that are not web services. Okay. The Google Cloud Platform has its own Python SDK, okay, that Alex knows about, and also Firebase. So if you guys don't know, Google acquired the Firebase company and their cool real-time database a little while ago. And what we did was we decided to add way more to it. And so it's pretty much the place if you want to build any kind of mobile app. So we kind of merge Android and iOS in there. So the whole thing is like it's all mobile friendly. You can also build web apps, C++ apps, Java, and Node apps as well too. But the strong focus is on creating great mobile experiences and then helping you with the web versions beyond that. Okay, so it's a giant platform now. It's not just a real-time database anymore. Okay, and they have their own client libraries. Glenn?
So, is there a reason that we have the AdWords and Maps as special snowflakes outside of the other API library? And also, why client libraries together and client dash library secondary? Why have the exceptions instead of having it easier to fit into your head?
Okay, thank you for helping me chew up the time. So these teams have built in like special things that they need to have to actually. Okay, so there's two reasons why some of these other teams have different client libraries. One is that they feel that the existing client library is too low level. They want to provide higher level access. So that's definitely like what Cloud has done. Okay, they consider the regular client library to be a low level client library. They call it the low level client library. Okay. Other reasons could be that they were developed at different times by different people, or their API serving infrastructure internally is different from the normal serving infrastructure for the other APIs, the majority of APIs. So, obviously I wasn't part of the decision-making process behind all this stuff, but yeah.
There's no organizing force to keep that, like for example, client library, client dash library.
There's a team for this, there's a team for that, there's a team for this, Supposedly, we're not supposed to expose our org chart to the outside world, but sometimes there are things that are beyond our control. Okay? Alex? Oh, yes, help me.
This is known as Conway's Law.
Okay, Conway's Law.
Products reflect your organization.
Yeah. Yes.
Conway's Law.
All right, Conway's Law, that's what this is, okay? But at least we have one that has multiple APIs, so that, at least I'm happy about that. All right, so to to summarize, we've created great technology, but we can't build everything. And our APIs are basically a way for us to give you access to our technology to integrate into your apps. Okay, access your favorite with your favorite developer tool, whether it's Python or not. Okay, I kind of already covered all of these in the other slide. All right, and the main idea is to have you guys build the next big thing, get really famous, get really rich, and thank me for it. Shower me with cash and stock. Okay. And I think I've run out of slides, so I'm going to have to do the live demos. So I have no private life, so feel free to reach out to me at my Google+. People still use it, believe it or not. Twitter, and the slide deck is there, again. And after you guys have taken your pictures and downloaded the slide deck, I will go and run the live demos. Everybody hold up your cameras for 5 minutes. Oh, never mind. You guys are terrible. All right, so let's see. What do I want to demo for you? No, I'm going to do it in order. So I'm going to go to Google Plus first. Yay. Wait, where am I? Oh. So Python 3 or 2 plus search. So we can look at it here. Do you guys remember plus search? Okay. I should fix this. All right. I did that, so now I can run it. Okay, so it was pretty fast too. Yay. And somebody's going to ask, wait, why wasn't I prompted with the OAuth 2 prompt? Because I opted in last night. Just use a refresh token. Okay. All right, next is YouTube. So this is APIs, public API. So there's API key. Okay, so YouTube is the next one. So YouTube. And this one is called YouTube YT search. All right, I'm not going to fix this one, but you can pretend it's import discovery, discovery.build. So I'm going to search for all Python videos. I'll do this in Python 2 just to be difficult. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's surprising. The reason why I'm surprised is because mostly it comes up with snake stuff. So part of the demo was me going up here and going, instead of searching for Python, I'm going to do Python but without the word snake. So I got rid of the one snake one. And oh, YouTube defaults to 5. You can change it. You can go up to a max of 50. Okay?
When you search, is it searching as you so it knows that you're probably more interested in?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Okay, so the question is it like when I go search for YouTube videos on the UI and watch videos so that it knows what to quote unquote recommend to me? Does it recognize it that it's you? That I don't know. I would have to talk to somebody on the YouTube team to see if that's the case. But that is a good question, though. If you're totally curious and you'll die if you don't know, drop me a line, and I'll try and get you an answer. Okay? All right. So that's YouTube. Now we're going to move to the next one, which is Google Drives. So this file is called drive. I'll do this in Python 3. Drive list 4. Okay, and let's take a look at it. Drive list 4. Okay, so I'm going to list my Google Drive file, so don't look. Okay, I have a bunch of videos. I'm not going to show you what those videos are, okay? But I have a bunch of videos that I didn't know were in my Google Drive. That's really odd. Oh, crap, I know why. Okay, never mind. Next one is Gmail. CD, Gmail. CD, Gmail. So this one is called Gmail Threads. Gmail Threads. Oh, I have too many examples. Threads. No, because the latest is older. It's my naming policy, okay? Jeez. Stop questioning my developer. So anyway, so what does this do? It looks for all the messages in my email that have at least more than 2 messages in the thread. So Python, I'll do it in Python 3. I'm starting to use Python 3 more every day, so we'll just stick with Python 3 for now. Or I think it's the latest one. I can't remember now. Let me double check. Or is it 4? God, maybe I should check out 4. Let's see what the difference is. That's fine. Gmail 4. I have conflicts in my head all the time. All right, maybe 4 is the newest one. All right, so let's run that one. Python 3 Gmail Threads 4. Okay, let's try not 4. Ah, crap. All right. Really? Why would I have permissions problems?
You're using print as a statement instead of a function, right?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's why I don't use that one. Okay.
Or use
So,
Python too.
I can just go through the OAuth flow, I guess. Okay, hold on a second while I opt myself in here. If you guys don't believe me... Oh, wait, where's my window? Window. No! Dang it. Would you quit laughing? This is not comedy for you. I'm not here to entertain you. All right, so here's the OAuth window that popped up. Wait, let's bring this up so you can see it when I click allow. It's my personal email, so don't look. Ah, crap. Let's do it again. It was partially working.
Oh, BayPiggies stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's BayPiggies stuff. Okay, therefore it's real and not fake. Where'd the error go? Where'd it go? Okay, so here. At least we got 2. Okay, 7 messages there, 12 messages there. All right. Satisfied? All right, next one is Google Calendar insert. Oh, no, we're not going to do that one because friend1@example.com, I don't have access to their their Google Calendar. I do have another one, which is the Sheets one, which is read the stuff out of the student portfolio. So roster Sheets, read. No. Sheets read. Okay, I deleted it. Old? Ah, crap, I can't do it. Darn it. All right, I don't know what happened to that one. It died. And then the only other one I have is the drive, upload, and download one. Let's see. Drive, up, down, 3. Okay, so this takes a plain, actually, I think I don't upload a plain text file. Oh, no, I do upload a plain text file. Okay, plain text file. I upload it, and I want to Docs document. So this is the MIME type for a Google Docs. So I'm going to convert it. Okay, so the conversion happens here while setting the MIME type, and then it uploads it. And then when I download it, so if it works, I have a results object back. If it does work, I want to download or export it as PDF, pass that in, then I should have a PDF file when it's done. So let's see if I have a drive. Do I have a hello.txt file? Text file. So it's just hello world. And then by the end of it, I should have a PDF version. So CD drive Python 3 drive up down 3. Uploaded hello world, hello.texas plain. I have a Google Docs document, and then I have a PDF version. So if I do open of hello.pdf, oh, it's here, sorry. It's down on this window. Ta-da, the most exciting PDF in the world, okay? And maybe if I go to my drive, maybe that will actually show up. No. All right, don't look. Don't look. All right. That's it. Does anybody want more? Yeah? I just have 2 print statements. That's all. I don't. Oh, you know why? I think maybe. Oh, yes, that's why. One, I want to show upload without import, without conversion, and the second time with conversion. So I do it twice. Okay. And I do have a BigQuery example, which is cloud product. I wasn't on cloud, but I'm not on cloud anymore, but I still have that demo working. So cloud BigQuery, because I'm not going to let you guys go home now. Okay. So BigQuery looks like this. eCloud BigQuery. And the thing I'm going to run is called BigQuery.query, I think. bq.query. So I'm going to run one of these 3 searches on a giant data set. I'm going to look for all of Shakespeare's works that have the most words, or the effect of alcohol on a baby's birth weight, or the most updated Wikipedia pages. And I'm going to randomly choose one of the 3 when I run it. Okay. Shakespeare. Hamlet's the most wordy one. Okay, this looks like it's running a different query because it's taking longer. The most updated Wikipedia pages, George Bush. And then WWE, and then Wikipedia, then US, then Michael Jackson, then Jesus. And Britney and we, which is kind of odd. Yeah, maybe we'll get the alcohol one. Nope. How many times do I have to run this to get the alcohol one? There we go. This is declined to state, the alcohol use. So this is the neonatality database from the Department of Health and Human Services between, I think, 1965 and 2000 something, but I don't remember the exact year. Anyway, Anna wants to do this, so we're going to raffle off a PyBay t-shirt, right?
How many people were at PyBay?
You already got a shirt, so you don't get one.
How many people were not at PyBay but really wanted to? Okay. We have one XL t-shirt. He raised his hand, he gets it.
All right, now we break out. Everybody chit-chat, grab some more food, grab some more water, have a great time, and thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys next month.
Anyone have any announcements? Guess we're good. Everyone's going anyway, so thanks a lot, Wes. Great talk.